gigs. The first time I saw a live show, the more frequently I saw gigs, the harder it became to budget. Barely I had no idea how much it cost to see some of my favorite bands. I found out a little on my music talents, watching those bands play on those nights. So if you're watching this contest, know my YouTube friends, I'd love if you watched it all. So hello found it don't matter to me, my entry is done, that's all. Low noise, Jason Skilz, this is contest I'm entering. This might be the last one of 2023, oh we shall see.
Sup, dreadfully delightful Rick back on the attack. So this is another contest entry video, so kind of a buzzer beater entry because contest is almost over. So this is for Jason, so of the channel Low Noise Jason Skilz. We're celebrating 800 subscribers, so definitely, well, as of this morning he's at 840, so again 800 plus, so very well deserved. Love his channel. Really cool dude, man. Guy is, I think, one of the, as far as when I think of YouTubers, the epitome of somebody who really explores all facets and areas and then some of music. So he is a real music hound, man. Real music nut. It's not just a metal guy. And I do appreciate, when he posts stuff and shows all kinds of things. And you can kind of learn a lot of what he has to show. I know I kind of say that frequently with some other YouTubers. This guy really, this guy's the real deal too, and I don't know, do you run a store? I think he runs a store. So he just got back from a European trip. So those are very cultured. So this contest will entail live shows that you've attended. So some of your favorites, he wants us to list some of those. So I will be showing you some gigs that I can recall. So some of us can't recall every show we've been to, or or maybe we've been a little too hammered to remember if it would have been our favorite that night. No memory. I don't know. Too many brewskis. So been there. But anyway, so I put some stuff that I thought was very memorable to me, very sentimental at the same time. So it's not always about the particular show in of itself, but the people around the show, the people that you're with, some of the magic, that kind of elevates the mood and everything. So if you guys think I'm going to mention Taylor Swift tonight, you're going to be sorely disappointed. So it's going to be mostly metal, basically. Pretty much all metal. In some shape or form or another. So all kinds of range of stuff. So let's begin. What do we got here? I'm going to start off a little light. So this one's kind of went to this show on a whim. So I will begin with the Jagermeister music tour. I remember picking up the Jagermeister comp CDs, which I believe Metal Blade put out, and I really enjoyed those. It kind of introduced me to quite a few bands, which is kind of what compilations are supposed to do, right? So this one is March 15th of 2002. So I managed to keep this ticket. A lot of you old heads who've been around to a lot of shows over the years, way before me, if you can keep your tickets from fading to be able to actually show some of these, congratulations, man, because some of these are already fading on me. So yeah, so most of these are basically in Philly. So I started going to a lot of shows heavily in Philly. So that's where a lot of the gigs here which I will show. So anyway, yeah, so here we are. So Jagermeister Music Tour, Electric Factory, March 15th, 2002. And so this was basically new metal. So this was my new metal show. And yeah, it was bands like Head PE, which I've seen already several times through other acts. I never went out to go see Head PE. They just happened to be a band associated with other bands, that I managed to go see. Here I was kind of curious because they had other acts like Cold Chamber at the time, and a band called Drowning Pool. Remember Drowning Pool? Let the bodies hit the floor, right? That's what they'll always be remembered as. So I actually managed to catch that band when Dave Williams, rest in peace, was still alive. So this was back in March. He ended up passing away in April of that same year. I think he had some heart failure. I heard he was one of the nicest guys, man. A really, really awesome guy. And just got along with everybody. Drowning Pool is one of those bands where, uh, in hindsight, it could have sounded just as trendy as a lot of those new metal bands. But I always thought that their guitar player was very phenomenal. Like he was able to do some stuff and sounds and effects and some really interesting things that other bands were not doing quite the same way. Maybe Static X probably comes closest to some of that at the time, but those first two Drowning Pool albums were, I think, they're the highlight. After that, they moved on to some other vocalists. They were never quite able to capture that magic of the very early releases, especially during the Dave Williams years. So yeah, so then there's that. So if you guys are into wrestling, you all know that song. Another one is let's fast forward to 2019. So one of the last shows I caught before the world went to crap and we had a pandemic, go down in 2020. So this was a very small venue down in South Philly called Boot and Saddle. So this was the Divided by Darkness tour, Spirit Adrift, June 14th, 2019. There we go. Very tiny bar area, very tiny stage. And Spirit Adrift, great band. I don't think they can play a stage this small anymore. I mean, they've really grown and expanded since then. But even at the time, I thought they were a little underrated. Can't say that anymore. But yeah, this was cool because Chase Mason was still playing in the band at the time. It might have been one of his last gigs before he split. You guys know him as the vocalist of Gatecreeper. So Nate Garrett, I think, did play, who's the vocalist for Spirit Adrift, ended up playing with Gatekeeper for a while, and then they got their separate bands now. But it was kind of cool to see this lineup with Spirit Adrift. So what's so memorable about this? So it was a band called Hound, which is kind of a retro rock kind of band, doom retro rock band, based out of Philly. So local act, and then after that was a band called High Command, and this is before they were signed to Southern Lord. So High Command, very cool. They were very excited. They were announcing they were going to be putting out an album later that year, which ended up being awesome. And they released another full length last year, which is fucking killer. Great band. So again, why is it memorable? The damn sword, man. So I was, again, and I had to mention because it was a very cozy, very small venue. So here comes this dude, and I thought it'd be a good idea, right? The vocalist, to wave around this sword, as part of the act, not taking into account that's the size, and So me being a small guy, I tend to move up front at times so I can actually see what the show I paid to go see, and and there was a one point during the act, and the sword that dude was swinging. The vocalist's name does not come to mind at the moment. Damn it! I don't feel like stopping this video. Yeah, he was swinging that thing around. It came about 2 inches from my head. I was like, that's not supposed to happen. Not at all. Would have been pretty bad. And but other than that, other than getting almost sliced, it was pretty memorable, and it was cool seeing Spirit Adrift. They did have some technical malfunctions, equipment malfunctions during that show, and they kept it pretty cool, and did not really lose their cool. They didn't lose their cool and kept a bit of that professionalism. I can know you can lose your cool when your equipment fails, but they managed to get it going. So yeah, that was a fun night. What else? We also got the first time I've seen Emulation. Very excited about this band. I remember getting into them with was a Here and After, and that's one album I listened to inside and out, and it's just like, man, this is, even at the time I knew this was a special death metal band. And when I saw they were playing the Trocadero It was Sunday, April 11th, 1999. Look at that. So the Trocadero Theater itself, it's near Chinatown in Philly, and it's closed down during COVID. It's already at its last legs. It was a very old theater from back in the 1800s. I heard there's rumors now that it's going to be restored, and I hope to see shows there again. I think one of the last shows I've seen there was probably Amorphous and Omnium Gatherum, and what the hell else was it? Dark Tranquility. I think it was like the last shows I've seen there. But Emulation back in '99, man, imagine that. So, and the thing, what is so memorable about what's memorable about this was that I remember being there and think of how amazing this band was from out of New York, and very unique death metal in their own right, and how technical they were, but in such a way that didn't quite bore you, right? Like some other technical bands tend to do. They were not flashy in that kind of way. Everything had a reason and purpose why it was there, and it was a very light night. I remember there must have been probably maybe no more than 50 people in that room. You try to say that now, it's hard to believe, but that night there was not many people going to see Immolation, and part of me was like, they kind of enjoyed that I kind of was able to experience the set without too much of a crowd and noise. As far as the crowd goes, I was able to enjoy the music. They played a good show regardless of the turnout. But fucking Immolation, man. What else? So Pantera, have they mentioned this? Pantera was part of my high school years. They were the big band. They were the popular metal band. A lot of people like to hate on them. What's hairier than Pantera, right? So you know who you are. This was at the First Union Center, which is the First Union, which is known as Wells Fargo today. Yeah, that's how long ago this was. Sunday, March 11th, 2001. Big venue, and yeah, so way down in Philly. This is at the of course, the stadiums. So I did not know the turmoil that would come with the band Pantera. So and I felt like the lineup was strong enough with Morbid Angel, who also played that night. And it was my second time seeing Morbid Angel, and the band that opened up for them was Nothing Face, and so good set. But being that it was the only time I've ever seen Pantera live, I didn't have any other sets to compare them with. So, but from based on what they played, it was the staples and the classics, all the songs that you care about as far as if you were a Pantera fan. And the band would later split up in August. They would play their last show in Yokohama, Japan, in August of 2001, and completely call it splits. Being that once Steinbach was murdered, it was pretty much the nail in the coffin as far as the band goes. And now with Vinny gone, rest in peace. They tried to keep it going, with Zakk Wylde and Charles Bernanke, but it's not. It's sort of Pantera, but I mean, again, we got Rex. Even he's had issues trying to do the live gigs. I think he caught COVID and some other stuff. So it's a shame, but I'm very glad I went to that show and got to witness this little piece of history. Even though there was the band on their last legs. So going on to the sentimental stuff too. So this year, also a gig worth remembering. I don't know why I did with a ticket, but I went to go see Decibel Fest, and it was where I got to meet one of our fellow YouTubers, a good buddy, Jeff of the well, he was Metal Madness 66, now known as Gas Masks and Hand Grenades. So Jeff doesn't watch my videos, so he won't see this anyway. It doesn't comment, so I can say whatever. No, it was cool to meet Jeff. He came down, and his daughter Lauren came down too, and they got there late. I got there early, being that I'm already in Philly, so it was easy for me. But they had to take that drive down on a weekday, and they missed out on Worm. Worm is one that's not come around that often, so I was able to catch the Worm set, and they missed it, which I felt really bad. But he was able to catch Gore Guts that night and meet Luc Lemay over there, and who else? Kevin, and who else? Fucking John McEntee. So yeah, so Incantation also also played. So it was a hell of a night. Frozen Soul was another one we got to meet. Great band, and just a killer night. Had our beers, got some merch, and what else could you ask for? So I also saw Alex pair of jeans reviews. He recognized me actually. I wouldn't have recognized. I felt bad because I'm not a regular watcher of his channel. I am now. So I'm sub to you, man. I'm sub to you, Alex. And hasn't put up a video in a while though. He did put up one about 4 months ago, as far as some of the best stuff of 2023. But I did recognize his face. He pointed out, I'm like, I remember that guy. He kind of looks like Edward Scissorhands if he wasn't a weirdo. Like if Edward Scissorhands was a normal straight-laced dude, he kind of looks like Alex. No offense, it just kind of was reminiscent in my mind when I saw you. He was quite tall too. So yeah, so I was really excited about that. I saw Brandon from Scourge of Vinyl also at the Decibel Fest 2023. Really cool set. So I went both days. Jeff and Lauren were only able to make it the one day. Again, there was a band they mostly cared about. The second day was mostly hardcore and stuff. Even though Incantation didn't play that first night, so Jeff got to see John McEntee, but didn't get to actually watch them play that night because they were the only death metal band pretty much playing the second night. Am I rambling enough now? So moving on. So a lot of you guys know my story. So to kind of end the show mentions here, my girl, if you guys know my story, passed away in 2021. She had a disease called CIDP. It was a degenerative autoimmune disease, and she's been struggling with it, and eventually succumbed to it. So I was her caretaker, along as her partner for 2 decades. So we were together for a very long time. But why am I saying all this? So I'm going to point out a mention of our first show, the very first show we went together, and my friend Melissa, I think, was there too at that show. It was for Amorphous. They played the Trocadero. So before I show you the ticket, I'm gonna go segue just for a second because actually, while I was looking for that ticket, I found this too. A ticket for the first movie we saw together when we first started dating, and this was back in July 23rd, 1999, and that was for American Pie at the Riverview Theater. The Riverview Theater closed down in Philly, and that was the premier South Philly theater that everybody went to go see. That was our fucking first date movie. You Zoomers who don't know, this was the teen comedy at the time, and you guys, well, what is that about? What American Pie was it? Dude fucks a pie, man. What am I gonna tell you? That was that was our first date movie, and shit. So back to the music. But man, I did not know I still had possession of this. So Amorphous, Trocadero Theater, Wednesday, May 3rd of 2000, right here. And I'm so glad. I can barely read it. It's kind of faded out. I don't even remember who played that set that night. It was still with the old singer Passy, and before he left, and Tommy took over eventually. I think in 06. So anyway, I told her, hey, because we were still dating at the time. I'm like, hey, you want to go see a show? She's like, it's metal. It's not really my thing. I'm like, but they're European. They're different. And I thought, okay, if I say they're European, maybe that would give it a bit of an exude some exoticness to it. That might incite her to want to come more. But at the same time, when you first get together, you'll make some amends and be like, yeah, let's do this. So we went, and it was quite enjoyable. Not typically her thing, but I'm very glad that we got to see Amorphous. It was my first time seeing the band, and it was cool. So I've seen them several times since then. Great live act. You ever get a chance to go see Amorphous, definitely check them out. They're they play a little bit of everything, and they do still play some of their old stuff. So if all you care about is their old stuff, their 90s shit, they do play some of that live, along with the new stuff, of course. But this right here had some of the Pink Floyd era stuff. You guys know what I'm talking about. But I tried looking the details of this show online. I can't find it anywhere. It's like this gig didn't exist. Another reason why I'm glad I held on to this ticket. See, this is evidence that the show didn't indeed occur. The hell, man. So, Yeah, it was right around the time this album was out. So they were promoting this album to Ornella. I think Am Universal was probably a brand new, just dropped. It was about to drop around this time. So they were playing some material from that, and so that was my first show with Van. So that was my that was her name. And what was the last show I seen with her? So before she was able to not be able to walk anymore, had to be full time on the wheelchair because you're losing, because it's a nerve condition. You can't really use your legs or not, after some time. But so around 2014, she was still using her cane. She wasn't quite on the walker yet, but she was. So we were still just enough able to go to some shows, but she couldn't stand up for too long, so she had to sit at the venue. But one of her favorite bands was, she did like some symphonic metal. I was able to kind of gave her a bit of an appetite for some of that kind of stuff. And lo and behold, you're not going to be surprised to see this. And I don't have the ticket stub. I'm sure it's here somewhere, but that's one I wish I would have found in time for this video. But Within Temptation came down at the Electric Factory, and that was at October 9th, 2014. Was the last show we saw together before she wasn't able to go out anymore as her condition worsened. But very great set. She loves this band. This is a Dutch band, and Sharon has a phenomenal voice. They've gotten quite a little poppy over time for me, so I've kind of, admittedly, I've dropped out of the band. I think they just put out a new album, so I still have to check it out, see if I like it. But my taste for this general music has not really been my thing anymore. But at the time, I've enjoyed listening to some of this symphonic metal stuff with her because it's something we both could enjoy together. But this is one of her favorites right here. The Silent Force, I think, is one she also enjoys. But she enjoyed the set. I think a band called Araminth. Araminth, yeah, played almost the opening act. 3 vocalists, 2 male, 1 female. Very, very interesting. I've never seen that kind of setup before, quite that way. So that was pretty cool. And another one that I'm glad we've made it out to go see. I did not know it would be our last show together as a couple. When that happened, so I thought it'd be at least worth a mention for this. So not looking for any tears or whatever, but it is part of my life and part of my history. So it's very, very sentimental, those memories to me. So whether you care about the band or not, it wasn't so much about that, but it was the experience of getting together and going and seeing these acts. Because this is what it's about, man. Sometimes you go to these shows and it's who you're with. It's not, you may not like every band you see, but it's not always about that. But of course, you would buy a ticket to go see a band that you like, but sometimes you get invited to things and may not be your main flavor, but you never know, you might enjoy it. So now Jason also, before I end the video, I'm going a little long here. Jason wanted us to also mention any bands we would have liked to see that we never got around to seeing. That's why you see the Soundgarden right here. And so my buddy Jeff got to see Soundgarden with Chris Cornell, and damn it, and that's one band I would have wished to have seen live at some point. Chris Cornell, also one of my favorite vocalists. He's one of the quintessential examples of a great rock singer. You can put him up there with all the other guys, I think. But yeah, this was their swan song album. Not their strongest, but it's still quite enjoyable. Another one was and this is one that Jeff also missed. It was Typo Negative. So they used to play the Halloween Dracula's Ball, and so I think the last one they played was in 2001. And every year I fucking missed it, man. I never got to see the band, Kenny Hickey and company, and Peter Steele, who passed away in 2010. Rest in peace. So you always think you have more time, man. The band, they come around, they're goofy, they'll just, and never quite happened. Once they released, what is it, Life is Killing Me? I think that was the last one before they took a long hiatus before that again, and then and that was it for the band. But I would have loved to see Typo Negative at some point. If we did a Halloween live stream, and it was Brian and Classy Lonnie and Logan. Classy Lonnie was opened up with, he got to see Peter Steele. It wasn't in the best scenario because Peter Steele pretty much ignored him as he walked by. But I would have took that. I would have took that, man, just to be in the same room and presence with the band and just enjoy the moment. And so he would have been larger than life for me. Remember, I'm short, and Peter Steele's like 7 foot, so in the most literal sense, larger than life, as he was alive. There you go. Peter Steele would have enjoyed that humor. All right, I've been rambling on long enough. So again, buzzer beater entry. Jason, I hope this works out for you. I actually didn't count how many, whatever. I just pulled a couple random things and decided to talk about it. But I hope that fits your qualifications for the contest. And everybody who's tuned in, thank you. And I hope my Dave Mustaine impression didn't kill you too much. Here, let me just jog it out of your memory. All right. Y'all keep it dreadful. It's been fun. Congratulations on 800, Jason. And man, you'll get to 1,000 before you do it. You're almost there, man. You'll do it. Catch you all later.